Happy Monday, Periscope. Pastor Jennifer McAfee here, and I just wanted to tell you good morning and go over what we will be spending time in God's Word looking at and thinking about and talking about together. And go ahead and read that for you so that you can get together with your friends and family this morning and to discuss it as well. We have been going through the life of Jesus, and we've been in Luke chapter 1 for the past few days because we're at the portion of Jesus' story where it's prior to his birth here on earth. You know, of course, he always has been, but we are discussing about after Mary finding out that she's pregnant and then hearing about her Aunt Elizabeth being pregnant, who is well along in years. And we're going to read Mary's response to Elizabeth when she saw Elizabeth. And so it's in Luke chapter 1, verses 46 through 56. And it says this, "And Mary said, 'My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord, and my spirit has rejoiced in God my Savior, because he has looked with favor on the humble condition of his slave. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed, because the Mighty One has done great things for me, and his name is holy. His mercy is from generation to generation on those who fear him. He has done a mighty deed with his arm. He has scattered the proud because of the thoughts of their hearts. He has toppled the mighty from their thrones and exalted the lowly. He has satisfied the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel, mindful of his mercies, and just as he spoke to our ancestors, to Abraham and his descendants forever.' And Mary stayed with her about 3 months. Then she returned to her home." Now, there are a few things that I want you to realize from this passage as y'all discuss is, first of all, let's remember that Mary found out that she was pregnant when she was 6 months along. And so she immediately went to see her Aunt Elizabeth because during her visit from the angel Gabriel, he told her about Elizabeth being pregnant, a miraculous encounter. How many of you are like me? And when God gives you hope or God tells you that something great is about to happen in your life, you kind of want proof that it's not just you coming up with these things, but a sign from God, if you will. And that was Mary's sign from God. Go and visit your Aunt Elizabeth, who is well along in her years, and you're going to see exactly what God can and will do when he wants his plans accomplished. And I want us to remember the passage in verse 37 where the angel Gabriel said, "For nothing will be impossible with God." And so Mary immediately went to go see this amazing miracle that God gave her as a sign that what he was saying he was going to do through Mary was going to come to pass. And when she saw Elizabeth, Elizabeth began to prophesy and proclaim that truth to Mary, saying, "You know what? You are blessed, and because you believe that God is going to do what he has told you he's going to do, you're going to be blessed for it. And it's going to come to pass because you have faith in God." And that's something that we're reading here in Mary's praise when she sees Elizabeth and she sees the proof. You know that saying, the proof is in the pudding. She sees Elizabeth pregnant, and she knows with greater certainty that God is going to do what he says that he's doing. And the one thing in this passage that we just read is there's this balance of Mary where she is humble because of God's greatness and because of his holiness. Like, she's very mindful of who God is and his strength and his power. And she has great fear of God, not because she's afraid of him, but I want you to remember this. Fear of God is faith in God. You have fear not because you're afraid of him, but you have fear of not being with him and where he is at, because he is the power and the strength, because nothing is impossible. And she had that fear, and it brought humility to her heart because she knew who God was, who her God was, what he was doing, and that she could be a part of it. So she was humble, but at the same time, she was filled with I don't know what the word is, but she recognized, she was humble, but she was also thankful and not proud in a negative way, but just thankful to be a part of what God was doing. She recognized God's grace on her and his favor upon her, that he chose her to be the mother of the Messiah. And she was thankful for that. So not so lowly that she couldn't recognize the activity and the goodness of God around her. And we need to have that in our life. We need to walk through life humble, knowing that but God, we could be in certain circumstances. But God, but for God, life could be messed up. But for God, I could be on the street corner. But for God, I could be homeless and broken. But for God. So have that humility where you recognize the authority of God and the activity of God and recognize that your life is found in him. But also have this active thanksgiving that you get to be where God is at. You get to follow him. You get to be where the action is, and you get to be a part of his plan. So that humility, but also the recognition that there's honor and favor on your life, that for generations you can be called blessed. And Mary saw that for generations and generations to come, she would be called blessed because of what God was doing in her and through her, because of what God was doing in this world through her, because she was willing to be the slave of God so that freedom could be brought. So there's the fear of God, that is the faith of God. There's the humility and the recognition of blessing. And what that means for me is I need to keep my eyes alert. I have this prayer that I say constantly, and it's the expectations that we have for the kids every time we get together. And actually, Andy, can you come here for a minute? Andy's my daughter. Come here. I want you to tell everybody, what are our expectations? What's the first expectation? Listen and obey, and then encourage. That means to use your words to what? Bring life instead of death. And then what's the third expectation? Have fun. And that's something that we instill thank you for helping me. That's something that we instill not just in the kids, but as adults. We need to learn to listen to what God is saying to us and then obey him. And not just obey him halfway, because halfway obedience is not obedience at all. Halfway obedience is disobedience. But we need to listen to what God's saying. We need to obey him with courage. At all costs, be willing to follow him and do what he is saying. And then we need to have fun. We need to see that our life is blessed, that the hand of God is upon us, and that there is favor. And when we operate in those elements of listening and obeying and having fun, we get to live in abundance. We get to live with joy. And the thing that I want us to remember is when we are in that state of listening, obeying, and having fun, then we have eyes to see the activity of God in our life. We have ears to hear what he is saying to us. And we have that heart of courage to obey at all costs, no matter what. Because think about Mary's situation. She was pregnant. She was engaged to be married. She wasn't married yet. And at this time, women were pretty much property. And so here she finds out as a young girl, probably about 14 years old, she's pregnant, but she's never been with a man. So can you imagine at that time the way people would look at her and look down upon her? Not just that, but her life was in danger because they had every right to stone her to death based upon the traditions of that time. But she chose to see the activity of God in her life and to trust him, knowing, you know what, he's got my back. He's going to protect me because this is his plan at work. She saw the activity of God, and she chose to be humble because of who God was, because she wanted to have faith in him, and to acknowledge the blessing and to find joy in that and to have fun in the midst. And so we can learn a lot from that because God is always at work in our life. Even when the weight of the world's perceptions are heavy on your heart, on your honor, on your integrity, when you are in the active will of God, even in spite of what everyone else is saying and thinking, he is with you and you are where he's at. And he's not only going to bring you through that, but he is going to bless you for generations to come. So I just want to encourage you to talk about that today with your family, with your friends. Go through it. It's Luke chapter 1, verses 46 through 56. It's an amazing passage of Mary just giving praise for what God was doing in Elizabeth and in her life. I want to encourage you to learn new levels of generosity in your life this week. God has called us as humanity to live a generous life, not just in our monetary means, not just in the expansion of our family, but in the words that we speak. That's why one of our expectations is to encourage. We need to be generous with our words. Life-giving, not life-taking. And generosity isn't just in what we say. It's not just in what we do and how we interact with others, but it's also in what we give out of the abundance of what God gives us. And so we call that a tithe. It's giving the first and best 10% of everything God blesses you with, and you give it back to God. And then you have the offering where you go above and beyond that tithe. And I just want to let you know there is a way where you can exercise generosity, and you may be like, you know what, this is new to me, Jen. And that's fine. So start small. Start with 1% or 2%, but you can do it. And I promise you, as you actively live out a generous life and you begin to trust God with that first and best of what he gives you, you're going to see his blessings poured out in your life. And I'm not just talking about financially. It will be financially. You're going to see that he's going to meet your every need in ways that you wouldn't even expect. But he's going to pour out blessing in other areas, in your family, in your job, in your hobbies. You're going to find that you're living a more abundant life. And so you can begin exercising generosity by going to feedavillage.com/give. That's FEEDAVILLAGE.com/give. And exercise generosity. I want to encourage us to do it in new ways. You may be one who has been exercising generosity for years. Let me encourage you to go above and beyond your norm. Just ask God, how do you want to stretch me and grow me today? I've been working out in the gym for the first time probably since I was in high school, so almost 20 years now since I've been going to the gym and lifting weights. That's what I've been enjoying, believe it or not. And one thing I notice is that the more I work something out that hasn't been worked out in a long time, the more it hurts. But as I stretch it, it feels better, and I become more flexible, and I can add more weight, and it's really been amazing to me. And to think about how that applies to our life. When you exercise generosity in a way that you haven't in a long time, or maybe for the first time, it's going to be sore, and you're going to feel it, but you're going to be more flexible, and you're going to be able to do more in the long run. And so I want to encourage you to do that with everything God's blessed you with this week. And if you're having a hard time identifying that, then I want you to go to the little bit that you have and say, okay, this is what I do have. And at some point, God's blessed me with this. And so I am going to take the first and best of this, and I'm going to give it back to him as an act of trust. I promise you're going to see God's activity in new ways, and it's going to come into your life in new ways. So I love you. Please visit us on our website, feedavillage.com. Send a message. Let us know how we can be praying for you. And gather your friends. This video will be up on Periscope all day today. So have some church at your house, wherever. Watch this video and talk about it. Or you can visit us on our YouTube channel, which you can find that through our website. I'll be posting this video as well. But please join us again next week. We love you. We're praying for you. And I look forward to seeing how God works in new ways in your life as you step into new places of humility and of recognizing God's blessing, listening, obeying, having fun, and exercising generosity. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.